What high school conspiracy turned out to be true? We had a student teacher, so a reasonably attractive guy who was about 22 or 23. The rumor was that he was dating a girl in our class, a senior who was nearly 18. It turned out the rumor was wrong. He was dating her younger sister who was in 8th grade. Two of the teachers hooking up on a Europe class trip, gone for a week. Came back and the rumors started. 2 weeks later a rumor started he got divorced. Last week of school they were spotted at a restaurant together. Looked them up a couple years after graduating. They're married. The married drama teacher was bonking the substantially younger art teacher. He swore blind that not only was it not true, anyone believing it was should report it to the head because it was so unprofessional. Then a few years later they had a baby. Due to budget cuts or something, all of our metal and woodwork shop machines were to be taken away and replaced with worse versions. The shop teachers and drama teachers that were in the building at the time didn't like this idea, so they hid all the machines in a false wall somewhere in the building. The people came to pick them up, and they told them that people had already come to pick them up and that they were late. They did some looking around and couldn't find the machines and gave up. A few years and one principal later they brought the machines back out from behind the walls, and that's how the smallest high school of our district with only around 450 students became the best school in the district to learn metal and woodwork. Everyone in my class in 7th grade was a real jerk to our social studies teacher. She was a 30-something-year-old woman who peaked in high school and for the life of her never seemed to find love. We all thought she was desperate to find a husband. Rumor was that she'd be on dating websites during class. This was early 2000s, mind you. But then one time, when we had a field trip, we went to the mall food court for lunch, and instead of chaperoning the students she legit invited a date to meet her there. So we are all sitting there in the food court snickering and watching her flirt with some random guy. As an adult, I feel bad that we picked on her, but to this day, thinking about her bringing her dates to the food court is kind of funny. I attended a newly opened high school that apparently used to be a school for troubled kids. Someone told me there were padded rooms somewhere in the school, so I skipped lunch with a friend one day to walk the halls and find them. They did exist, but by next year they were renovated into offices and storage rooms. I thought that was pretty interesting and seriously wondered what went on there before it was turned into a normal high school. There was this weird closet built into the middle of the hallway. Yep, the middle. So you had to walk around a giant block of a closet, but the door was always locked. Every morning before the bell rang, we'd meet up by the closet block because it was close to our lockers. The rumor was that it was full of mold because our school was underfunded and gross, but I figured it was just janitorial supplies. I had never seen a janitor go in there, but why would they leave a closet full of mold? Plus, there was already a room that was full of mold, the old boiler room which was underground and hadn't been used in decades. Then one day, the door was unlocked. Mold. So much mold. Multiple stacks of German textbooks were rotting inside this closet. The pages were wavy and stuck together, and the whole thing was covered in black spots with a white dust on top. The closer you got to the bottom of the stack, the more point uniform the books became. They had literally melted together and dried. Lord knows how many times. I simply closed the door and said, "Well guys, I guess this is why we only have Spanish as our foreign language." Our physics teacher ended up spending time in prison for having sex with one of the girls on the volleyball team he coached. She got therapy in college and the therapist was required to report, since the teacher was still in a position to abuse. There was a girl freshman year who went missing. She ended up being found dead in the river. There were rumors that she was seen on a bridge with her boyfriend the day she went missing. Nothing was ever found, and they assumed it was suicide or an accident. Fast forward 25 years and the boyfriend murdered his best friend of several decades, set a fire to cover it up, and went on the run. Couple days later he killed a woman at a rest stop in the bathroom to steal her car. They reopened the case about the high school girlfriend. That rumor was correct all along. He will be in prison the rest of his life. That there were tunnels under the school that led to a hidden pool, confirmed by my father who was a maintenance man for the school district. The tunnels were just utility tunnels. The pool is below the gym floor and was abandoned due to financial reasons. Conspiracy. Rumor was that the chemistry teacher was a pedophile. He was an older, overweight guy with a physical disability. I thought it was just people being judgmental a-holes, and even defended him. Until I looked it up. He was caught in a To Catch a Predator style sting at his last school trying to meet up with minors. I have no idea how or why the school hired him. I even sent a message to the superintendent, but never received a reply. That my high school history teacher was putting whiskey in the 2-liter bottle of Pepsi he carried around every day. He was caught trying to buy liquor for some senior girls, and it resulted in a car chase we all watched. The police had to pull out the spike strips to catch him. Science teacher was lying about being a soldier. Stolen valor. Came back from Afghanistan, but was actually in Colorado with his girlfriend. He flipped out when someone I know asked him to name a friend who was Kaya. 3 or 4 years later it was revealed that he had been lying about his service record and job experience. Not a conspiracy, but there was once an absolutely massive turd in the girls' bathroom at my high school. It started a hysteria and pretty soon there was a line of people going in and out of the bathroom to get a glimpse of the thing. To this day, I still wonder who made that giant turd. My algebra teacher was having an online affair. She would teach for about 5 minutes and then tell us to read to ourselves and do our work while she typed away on her computer. One day she just didn't show up. Turns out she up and left in the middle of the night to move out to Ohio to be with her internet boyfriend. Pretty mild, but I grew up in a town of 700 people, so it was huge news. Also our volleyball/track coach sleeping with senior girls. There was even a fist fight between 2 girls over this. I didn't really pay much attention until I got into high school and joined track. He had me doing weird stretches when he was directly behind me while I was bent over. I was super innocent and fairly dumb, about 6. I knew it was creepy, but I just rolled with it, although I was uncomfortable. One of the boys on the track team I swore who hated me because he was always picking on me pulled me aside and told me what the coach was doing was perverted, and he was clearly excited the whole time. This kid went to the principal in my defense and the coach resigned that next year. I don't believe he was ever caught, but after he resigned I learned his wife was a former student of his, and their relationship started while she was in high school. I'm not sure the kid really liked me. He was a year older than me, and he went out of his way to make fun of me, but was my older cousin's best friend. I was probably looked at as more of an annoying little sister type, even though I rarely initiated speaking to him. He did make it a point to start standing behind me with his back turned to me or watch over as I did my stretches with my back to the wall. I think he was just watching out for me for my cousin. He never tried anything or asked me out. He was more annoyed I went along without asking questions as to why the coach was having me do some clearly shady That the 7th grade history teacher is a pedo. He treated the girls better than the boys, like giving only the girls nicknames, greeting them but glaring at the guys, etc. This girl accused him of flicking her bra strap while they were alone in his classroom. Fast forward 3 years. My brother told me that the teacher randomly disappeared from teaching. The school said he retired, but it happened at the near middle of the year, which was suspicious. He most definitely got fired for being a pedo. Scary thing is that he drove the bus too. The vice principal turned principal was cheating on his wife. Started in shop class when he donated his car to us to change his flat tire. We weren't supposed to snoop, but we looked in his trunk. Found a pair of high heels and panties that would not fit his wife or him if he was into drag. Turned out he was sleeping with a freshly graduated 18-year-old. They were divorced within 4 months. After we found that BHS baseball coach was a pervert, man was also a preacher and the freshman science teacher. After getting too comfortable with our small town school, he told one of the freshman girls to get on her knees and practice batting. Facing him, he grabbed her by the hair and someone recorded it. He was fired, but there was no investigation launched. Pretty effing sure the dude was a pedophile. 2. That the senior science teacher was sleeping with a student. It all came out after the male student graduated and accidentally leaked the teacher's nude photos she had sent him. She went to jail. Thank God. We used to have this sub in high school who was just such a clown. Maybe like mid to late 20s, but he cold been younger, like straight out of college, who knows. Anyway, he was kinda just like a weird guy and everyone thought he was a loser. He tried to dress hip and such, and would always try and chat with girls. You'll know where it's going. I mean, this guy was such a loser that once, when he subbed for mal or class, he went on this while rant about a bunch bullsh, statistics, etc. It wasn't until a handful of years later that I realized this bozo stole an entire 5-minute speech from the show The West Wing and delivered it verbatim to a bunch of high school kids to try and sound smart and sophisticated. So pathetic. Anyway, he was found getting blown by a freshman. Yes, freshman. In the janitor closet. Sire. Let me tell you the tale of Schlegs. One of my friend's older sister, who went to our high school 5 years before we did, was at a party and wound up drunkenly hooking up with a guy. Apparently she was feeling adventurous and decided to try anal. Cue them finishing, them pulling out, and proceeding to release a geyser of shriveled faithful level proportions. Sh on the bed, sh all over their clothes, sh all over themselves. It was like that scene in the live action 101 Dalmatian, when Glenn Close falls into the molasses, understandably embarrassed, and not wanting to leave via the normal route through the still very active house party. She hastily decides to leave via the second floor window, without even taking the time to put on her clothes. She jumps, breaks her legs on the front door stairs below, and is stranded, naked, and covered in sh on the front lawn. I should mention this was during the height of a Canadian winter and -20 degrees, with nowhere to go, and urgent care needed, before she passed out from shock and froze to death. She was left with no recourse but to knock on the door and crawl back into the party of 100 of her peers to phone an ambulance. We thought our friend was lying until 6 of our older friends who were there confirmed it.